It's your boy Hot Rod here, back with another one, man. I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. Uh, it was rough, man. It was a rough one. Definitely excited to be here, though. Back with another episode. Um, First of all, I just want to shout out to everybody who's been on the live so far. Those who's been engaging, definitely appreciate it. As we grow this channel, please don't forget once again to share, like, and subscribe. Tap the notification bar and share that content with the folks, man. Share it with your folks, share it with your peoples. Tonight, I'm gonna dive straight into it, man. Tonight episode, I just wanted to talk about being conservative, like being certain conservative. Like my thing is like, have you ever had a moment in life where if you ever had a moment in life where you were winning, but fear of literally failure held you back? Like that's what I think of. Like I feel a lot of times like people literally um, were winning in life and with their goals and things they wanted to achieve, and literally because of fear, they were afraid to push themselves to the next level, and they pulled them back. So I feel like for me, that's exactly what I'm talking about tonight. And only reason why I thought about that because I'm like, damn, how the hell did the Eagles lose last night, yo? That was just terrible. Like all day today, I just had to listen to all the damn sports analysis, get a sports analysis from all these damn commentators on ESPN and Fox and that bullshit. I'm just sitting there and like, what happened? How did the Eagles have a epic collapse yesterday? Like I had to listen to Cowboy fans today, literally chirping, in person and online. Like it's just like trolling. It's like they finally get their 15 minutes of fame, and this is what they finally want to do. They want to troll like they just won a damn Super Bowl. Well, we all know they ain't going nowhere. Their season is pretty much cooked and done. I mean, the chances of Cowboys winning pretty much the rest of their games are just not likely to happen. But like, it just made me thought though, like, how the hell are these people too damn conservative? Because my thing is, you had a 21 zip lead, and then you just blew that shit literally in the third, going to the fourth quarter. Like literally. Like it was just sad. Like it was really, really sad. And this is the second time now the Eagles had an epic collapse where they had a two-score lead, a 2 or 3 score lead this season. The Broncos earlier in the season, and then they just let them come back and wield on them. And it's just like, yo, what is it about like a lot of times when people, get comfortable in life, they literally have this, they become conservative. And I feel that's what happened last night. They played conservative. They got too comfortable. And that's what made me thought about as far as being conservative in life in general. Like, do you ever think about people who, go and be conservative when they get ahead instead of just pushing themselves harder, right? And it's just like we get comfortable, and even like in our relationships, equals Cowboys up. Oh no, don't do that. I know you're in Texas. Don't do that. But no, like literally, like I feel as though in life we get conservative, we get too comfortable, right? We may plan a lot of things that with things we want to do in general, but after a while, it's just like, yo, we push ourselves. We have these goals, we have these aspirations, and when things start to go well, a lot of times, many people just shift, right? They go into protective mode. They feel like, you know what? I don't want to mess this up right now, so I'm gonna just stay cool with this, right? It's like I don't want to leave this job right now where I'm at because it's really, really well, it's really comfortable, but that you feel like you're limiting yourself, right? And therefore you're like, man, why do I have this feeling? Why do I feel stagnant? It's like because you're afraid to get to that next level. And that a lot of times it starts with the mindset, right? And that's why I was compared to the game last night because I was so bummed out on how like they literally the Cowboys played an amazing last quarter. They needed that. I mean, they did. I won't take that away from them. The Eagles, I'll say the Eagles handing them that damn win because you can't be up 21 zip and you let a team just come back and smack you. But I say that for me it's like a lot of times we go into this fear of risk, right? We go into this fear of risk. We start to lose momentum, right? You in school, right? You excited about going to school and you sign up. You take all the proper steps ahead of time, right? You go online, you do your research, you register for courses, yeah, you do your financial aid if you get assistance, right? You sign up for all your classes, and then you boom, you're excited. You're on week 1, week 2 of school. Shit, you might get the damn refund check, right? And that's your motive, and you keep going, right? But like after a while, though, a lot of times, then people 9 out of 10 times then to tend to drop out, right? And that's why you got to start questioning what is it about it that you feared to be like, yo, um, I'm gonna give this up right now in this moment. Like, what is that fear that makes us afraid to get to the next level? And it's like, yo, is it because we feel, you know what? I know this is going to take a lot of work. This is going to take a lot of energy, and it's going to take a lot of consistency. So it's like, man, why is it that I'm losing this momentum now? I have this moment. I shouldn't feel this way. But a lot of times because we are afraid to fail, right? We are afraid to literally push beyond our own limitations. That's why I'm a type of person. I always believe in the mindset of how I train myself in the gym is how I train myself when I get out the gym, right? If I'm in the gym and I can't do those last few repetitions, and I'm just pushing on, and I get to like 8, 9, and I'm like, I know I got to get to 10, but I'm like, oh, I think 8 is cool is enough. I'm just gonna get up and quit. That is the reason why a lot of times too, it literally affects your mindset, and if you do that in the gym, you'll do that in your life too as well. So that's why I like to say how I push myself in the gym is also how I treat myself outside the gym, right? That's how I carry myself out in the real world, right? If I know I want to get to these goals and these things I'm trying to achieve, then I need to literally shift my mindset to be successful. Like, okay, I can't start something, but then as soon as I start something, I give up and I'm gonna quit. So it's the same. It's the same. Um, the same mindset too as well when you're talking about being conservative. So that's why I'm like, you know what? Let me let me think about my own self, right? What is it about me that even with people, for example, when I think we talked about it last week, when even folks who are in relationships too, they are afraid to leave because they fear that there's nothing else going to be out there better for them, right? So you stay in something way longer than you should, um, and therefore you're like, you know what, man, it's time for me to just settle down with this. It's the security aspect of it. You get money, it's comfortable. You got, this person, and you don't have those desires anymore that you have for this person, which this person that you once loved before, right? Or you had those feelings for, you don't have them again. And of course, there's no excuse. It's for you and that partner in that relationship to make the spark continue and to make things happen. But a lot of times too, people are staying in a relationship is not because they love what they have or they love who they have in that relationship more so than anything. A lot of times people stay in a relationship that they are in is because they are too comfortable. They are afraid to go out and see who else out there is better for me. You don't get those goosebumps for that person, but yet you still in that relationship carrying it on. I think that's also fear of failure, fear to try something different, right? Fear of something new, right? Because not knowing if I leave this situationship that I have with this person, right? Because it's no longer a relationship. If I leave the situation with this person, I'm afraid that everything, all the perks that come with it, I don't know if I'll be able to get that anytime soon. I don't know if I'll be able to get something better than what I have, although my heart is telling me there's something about this relationship is not for me no more, right? So therefore, we a lot of times settle, right? When we settle, we get too comfortable. That's when we realize later on in life we have a lot of questions, right? We have a lot of questions as to why things aren't working. Why are we giving up so fast? Um, so that's just some of the things that came to mind when I thought about uh, what is it that I need to do, even with my own personal goals, right? When I own my own personal development. When I think about uh, the things that I have going on in myself right now in my life, like even with this, for example, me starting this YouTube live, right? I can easily say, man, this is going to be tough to keep and maintain because you know what? I'm I don't know how well is it gonna do, right? I have a pretty comfortable life, right? I make pretty good money. I live on my own, right? I have a lot of other things going well for me as far as business wise, right? Um, but I know that in the end of the day, that's just me settling and having that failing mindset of, man, will this ever develop? Will this ever grow? Will this ever get to where I need it to? Right. And that's another form of failure, right? That's a failure loser's mindset because before I even give myself a shot to try, I'm already willing to give it up, right? I can't think that way. If I think that way, then I'm gonna treat that type of behavior in any other aspect in other areas of my life too as well. So I think like it's very important when you're talking about um, shifting that mindset, not being conservative. Uh, that's you got to take a different approach. You got to take a different approach. Um, Another thing, as far as when I think about failure, I'm always wondering too as well, like, yo, what is it right now that I can change, as far as when you're talking about the standpoint of conservative, what is it right now that I know that I can change so that I can be able to say, you know what, yo, how do I escape this? Right? How do I change this thinking? Right? Where did it come from? Right? Because it wasn't always like this before. Right? It wasn't me. I wasn't born to be conservative all the time. Right? This is just a habit that I developed over time. But what is it I can do right now in my own personal development, as far as escaping that mindset? What is it that I can change right now so that I can be able to shift that thinking, so that any other approach that I take in my life, I don't play to be safe and comfortable and be conservative. And a lot of times it start with me having to know that for my own personal growth, I got to be willing to take risk, right? Um, I got to be, not being afraid to invest in myself, knowing that if I fall, my face falls flat on the ground, that I'm just gonna be like, damn, I'm gonna stay there. I'm gonna be afraid to get up, because if I get up, that feeling and that pain that I had when I fell, I don't want to experience that again. Um, you cannot have that mindset. If that's the case, you'll give up and quit every single time. So I think that's important. And avoiding new environments too, because they're unfamiliar. Why I say that is because a lot of times I always say our environment shape who we are, right? We are we are who we're a lot of times where we came from. Until you shake and break that barrier, like, you know what, I can't think this way, right? If I am a person who comes from an environment of violence, right? I'm a person who comes from an environment where there's a lot of drugs being sold, right? Guns and a whole bunch of stuff, right? Alcohol, beer stores, distributors, everything that's literally taking down my neighborhood. If I stay in that box, I'm going to allow that to literally shape who I am, shape that narrative, right? Because I feel as though that kind of is setting the tone for what probably define who I am, until I say, I don't have to step foot in that beer distributor store, right? I don't have to go step in that Chinese store. I don't have to go in the corners and chill with the drug dealers that literally grew up around my area. I can just say what's up and keep pushing, right? Or I can be creative and imagine my own shape of thinking by looking at myself and be like, yo, damn, like, how can I think outside the box? Like, maybe I can be there a little different, right? Sit quiet, meditate, yoga, whatever, and have your own imagination and your own mind to reshape your own environment of where you trying to get to. So therefore, you can take the steps and the goals to get there, right? I think that starts with literally reshaping that thinking and that mindset. Um, but as far as with conservatives and goals, I would say that dreaming big. But sometimes, when you're dreaming big, you can act small, right? Meaning a lot of times we can storm up in our brain just everything, or we can brainstorm all the things that we want to do as far as our goals and aspirations, right? But our actions is not following that, right? We're not willing to go and walk into buildings and business establishments and even passing out those flyers or those brochures that's saying, yo, this is my business. This is what I do. This is what I can bring to the table. Because a lot of times we are afraid of embarrassment, right? And that many times, 9 times out of 10, 9 out of 10 times, that's the reason why we fear a lot with the things we want to do in our life, because we are so worried about what the next man think, right? We are afraid of embarrassment. We don't want to go somewhere and we get turned down, and we're afraid about we're afraid of who's in the room that's watching us, right? So we'd be like, you know what? Before I even put myself in that predicament, I'm just not going to approach it at all. So you be at home, right? And you on your drawing board and you writing your vision plan and everything on that board. But when it's time to go deliver that, now it's time to go out there and do the groundwork. You're afraid to go do the groundwork. You're afraid to go step in that business establishment because you're afraid of who's in that environment is watching you. And at the end of the day, you don't even realize once you leave that environment, you'll never see these people again, right? Those people that you are so concerned with that is watching you will never come across your path, most likely in your life, unless they become a business partner that you maybe give that card to. That person that you're so concerned with that is watching you is probably the one that's waiting for you to give you that opportunity. Or do you know you're literally waiting for them to give you that opportunity? Literally, they could be the one that be like, you know what? I need you just as much as you need me too. But how are we going to do that though if we're afraid to approach, right? So that's why I say we can all dream and come up with a whole bunch of ideas, but we can all, our actions say different. Right? We act very small. We have a big mindset as far as all the dreams and what we're going to do, but we act in small. And then waiting for the perfect time, right? It's interesting that every year, right? And I hate this because as we approach a new year, right? As this year closes out, I'm sure many of us here have a lot of goals going into 2026, right? And we probably had those same goals within the last 10, 15 years or so, whatever. But for some reason, we can't get past step one, right? Um, and what is it that we feel as though when we're talking about waiting for the perfect time? I'm asking y'all in the chat. Let me know what do you think is a perfect time, right? Realistically, what is a perfect time, right? And why do I have to wait till January 1st to for that moment to be the perfect time? Why not tonight, right? Why not tomorrow? Why not today? Why not right now, right? Um, because a lot of times we're thinking like, you know what? We're taught that we have to be as close to perfect as possible. And I'm not saying nothing wrong with that. Like it's good to, I would say, try to maximize the potential. But if you're waiting for everything to be perfect, you're gonna be waiting for a very, very, very long time, right? Because at the end of the day, perfection, and you waiting for perfection is you waiting for something to come to you to happen, and it's not most likely not going to happen, right? So you got to be the one to say, you know what? I'm waiting for this perfection, but I know that it's not going to come. It's not just going to fall in my lap if I don't put the effort in, right? So that's why I say a lot of times, what is a perfect time? There is no such thing as a perfect time. So starting is stuff, but never finishing because of you fear failure. That's what in general. That's what I'm saying. That's what that pretty much means. So I want y'all to start telling me in the chat, like whoever's watching, please let me know, what do you feel yourself that a lot of times you may feel like, damn, this is the reason why I'm being conservative, right? Just like the Eagles had that epic collapse, and I don't care, no one said, oh, the Cowboys played good. No, that was an epic failure because they got too comfortable, right? They got too damn conservative. What is it in our life that we feel a lot of times that make us conservative, right? When we finally reach that peak, then we just automatically quit and we stop, right? We don't push or go and past that next gear, right? We get enough to our comfort zone, and therefore we resort back to the same habits that we are accustomed to all the time, which is, you know what, let me just stop. I feel like this is good enough, but I don't want to go any further than that because I'm so worried about embarrassment. I'm so afraid of what might or might not happen. So if there's anything that I would say going into 2026 is maybe reshaping that thinking. How can you change that narrative for yourself, right? How can you shift that thinking to be like, you know what, this path that I've been taking, right? This mentality that I've been taking for the past 5 to 10 years have not worked. So realistically, and a lot of times to be real, you know that pattern within yourself. You know exactly who you are. You know your tendencies, right? So you know exactly before you even do something, you kind of already plan everything out and knowing how everything's going to fail, right? But why can't you have that winner's mentality and saying, you know what, I can see everything that is about to happen. I can make it happen times two, right? Why can't we shift that thinking? And that's what's important. So I think if anything in 2026, when it comes, you should think for yourself, you know what, yo, what is it that I can make a difference in myself and invest in myself so that I can actually make it happen? And I think a lot of times it's taking smaller steps, right, to get to that ultimate goal. Because if you're just trying to hit everything off at once, that's when you might have that epic collapse, right? That epic failure. Because now you done through everything. And just like last night's game, the Eagles, like they played for one half. They was throwing bombs, throwing the ball left to right, destroying the Cowboys in the first half. And in the second half, they went to sleep, right? They went to bed and literally they start playing too damn conservative, right? So maybe you got to start thinking for yourself, what do you need to do to scale back as far as trying to become a better version of yourself? What is it that you need to make those adjustments so you don't just throw everything out there at once and you don't have a vision and a plan, right? Maybe start taking those small steps, right? Being realistic with yourselves, right? Instead of thinking that you can have that big dream, not say you can't have that big dream, but instead of actually just taking a whole big swing, maybe like, let me start with round one. What in round one can I do can help me get to round two, that can help me get to round three, that can help me see towards the end of that fight, right? Instead of trying to go straight for the knockout, right? Because a lot of times when you try to go for a knockout, that's when you taking that risk to really have an epic failure. And like I said, it doesn't mean that you're afraid to take the risk. A lot of times, like I said, we are afraid to take a risk because we feel as though like, damn, it's just, I'm afraid to fail. No, I always say failures in life are lessons that you can overcome and learn from. So that's what I'm saying as far as What is conservative? What does that mean to you? Please let me know. Uh, what is it that you need to do to invest in yourself, right? As far as your environment, are you afraid because you're not in a, you're in an unfamiliar territory? You feel as though your environment right now is causing those limitations, but you can't see past that environment. So let me know what y'all think in the chat, man. Please, Hot Rods, Blazing Topics. We're pushing. Every week we're giving different content. I mean, Tim said failing now hits harder than failing years ago. Ooh, that's a strong one. That's a strong one. So yeah, I believe you, man. Definitely, I'd love to see what you guys say more on that too. Elaborate more on that. Said fail. Said literally failing now hits harder than failing years ago. Um, and that's to me is just that's all about time. That's all about time because at this point in your life, right? You cannot get those years back that you wasted. Um, right? You're only getting older. So at this point, every time that you don't accomplish something, it feels like it's a big letdown because it just reminds you you're just the next step getting older and you cannot get that time that you wasted back. Versus back then, maybe when I was in my 20s, I can be like, oh, damn, this didn't work out today. But you know what? I got tomorrow. Oh, I got next year. I got 5 years from now because you feel like you got so much time in your hand. And as you get older, you realize like, yo, time waits for no man. Literally, time waits for no man. It's just going to keep going. Next you know, you 30. Next you know, you 40. Next you know, you 50. And you wondering, what the hell did happen? What did I do? What did I accomplish? Half the things I wanted to do. Did I even started on anything that I said that I promised I was going to do for myself? Right? That's why when you saying when you literally said like yo failing now hits harder than failing years ago, like it's different. I'm gonna listen to see what you said. To say you could fail and then try and try again. Now you fail and the effects your family, your life. Yeah, financial. Yep, I agree. I agree. Was looking at it financially, mentally, personally. Yeah, brother, that's true. That's true. Um, and it's choices. It's all about choices. I think it just comes down to those choices. But it doesn't mean you don't have an opportunity. Like I said, it doesn't mean you don't have an opportunity to start tomorrow, right? You giving yourself don't give yourself excuses to cut corners or give yourself the reason to be comfortable and be conservative because of those things that you experienced in your past. If anything, it's just something you learn from. That's why I said you could look at it and say failures. I can look at it and say lessons, right? But because I know at the end of the day, especially for me, nothing's more worse in life than not knowing it all. I think like I'll be more comfortable knowing that I tried something and I didn't fail. I just learned, okay, this is just not the avenue for me. Maybe just this is just not going to work out in this way. But I think me never trying something at all would always dance in the back of my mind, knowing that the coulda, woulda, shoulda, but I didn't. I think that would bother me more than anything. I can accept failure. I can accept learning that, hey, this right now is just not for me, or this may not be for me at all. But at least I know I've gave my full effort and I tried something. And no matter what happened, I can live with those results. But not trying at all, that will literally break me. That will play gymnastics in my brain, literally. That will play gymnastics in my place. Thank you for tuning in, and everyone, please be sure to like, share, engage in the live, your thoughts. Yep. And listen, once again, I always got a shot. I got a shot her up, man. Live vibes. Listen, Juice Strong Juice on social media, y'all, on Instagram, Strong Juice 215. Follow her. Great promotion. She does a lot for me, like in my channel. She helps support me what I'm doing right now. All those reels and those even my buddy Tim in here too. He over here be talking about, yo, this is going on your social media. That's her. She pushing everything for me. She is literally my backbone of what I got going on as far as my social media. Pushing and pushing and pushing because she understands the vision. We growing and we are seeing the numbers. So we definitely coming. We just got to be consistent, and that's what I'm saying here, guys. We just have to be consistent with everything that you do. So, once again, thank you everyone. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Please be sure to share, like, and subscribe. Continue to check the chat. And respond and engage in the chat. Even if this live is over, you can still always chat and leave a comment on the replay. I do try to get the videos out as much as possible. She said, I just wrote a bar and you ain't going to read it. It's for what bar? What did you say? easier to paint easier to paint a white canvas black than a black canvas white. Takes way more. Yeah, that's true. After the years pass by, yeah, yeah. Damn, man, you dropping some. Speaking of jewels, you dropping some jewels tonight, boy. I'm gonna have to give you a phone call and find out what the hell's going on. You dropping something tonight, but once again, man, like I said, engage in the chat, y'all. Um, we're only gonna keep going from here. We're definitely gonna keep going from here. Um, I appreciate y'all so much for coming on and tuning in every single week. Of course, once again, Mondays and Thursdays we live at 8:15, and we're just gonna keep pushing forward. So everyone have a good night. Please, once again, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Tap the notification bell if you haven't. Share the content with your friends, your family, even your exes if you hate them. I'm joking. Right. But your boy Hot Rod, man, subscribing out. Deuces.